I think today we said we were going to have a little bit of a chat about personal branding. I know that's like it's a massive thing for me. I'm such a believer in the importance of it, but then I've spent a large portion of my career in some capacity doing content marketing. I probably would. But I think this is a difficult topic for us to talk about in a way because I think we both understand the absolute ins and outs of this, and I think we're both good at it, and we've both quite intentionally, for our own reasons, not done it ourselves. I don't have a personal brand. I know how valuable they are. I just don't fucking like it, which is, but I think mine's a little bit weird in that I don't really want to be the face of anything. I'm not, I think that's kind of, we've come to the conclusion that we need to, but, yeah, I don't like it. I don't really want anyone knowing who I am or knowing anything about me. I'm quite a hostile, hermity sort of a bloke. I mean, look, there's a reason. I'm just going to turn the thing around. There's a reason I live somewhere where that's what I can say when I look out the window. I don't want to be around other fucking people.
Yeah.
It's just not
Um,
me at all.
this is probably a common problem
Mm,
because people do. I'm a big believer in people buying people,
mm,
and a lot of the times these recruiters that have started their own businesses will have cultivated and developed relationships over time. They've probably just not documented it, and it's very, very unnatural and very scary for recruiters to promote their personal brand. Seen it done very well just recently, actually. It's somebody that we've had a conversation with. I've had a first call with, and if there was I've mentioned Theo James before. They've got a brand, and the CEO or the MD is prominent. It comes down to personality a lot of the time as well, doesn't it? Whether you want to be that guy or that lady or that owner that's in the public eye. The lady I was speaking to last week, they've got a hugely powerful personal brand, and the branding and visuals are all complementing it, and
mm.
they appear to be streets ahead. But this is one of the big problems. It's like how the thought of doing something like this to some people. Funnily enough, I was having a conversation with my colleague in Romania. His wife is the business. She literally is the kingpin, the knowledge fountain, everything. Flat no. Getting her picture on a corporate brochure was like pulling teeth. 90% of the challenge is how people feel about it.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to do something like this to some people, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be big.
No, absolutely no. Look, we use video a lot, I think, because it's such a handy resource. Our process when we are working with a founder to create personal branding content, we get someone whizzy and clever who spends their whole day creating content marketing. That's their job. They're really, really good at it. We get them to jump on a video call with you and do an interview. And sometimes if you're unlucky and it's really busy, it'll be me jumping on and doing it. But mostly it's someone who does this all day, every day. And the reason we do a video and we record it is not because we're trying to put a kind of 45-minute video on YouTube of you talking to camera. That's absolutely not it. What we find is founders, generally speaking, are sitting on a huge amount of knowledge and they don't know where to start turning it into content. So if you just have an easy, natural conversation, we can draw all sorts of insights out. And because we've recorded it, because we've got a transcript, it's very easy for us to reference to, chop it up, change it, turn it into, but basically we package the ideas into multiple pieces of content, which is much, much easier than what the founder has to do if they want to create content, which is sit with the blank sheet there. And what am I going to talk about? So when we record these videos, we are sitting with a list of questions that Ian has asked us to talk about. So Ian manages our own personal branding content, our company's branded content, our thought leadership. He gives us a list of things we need to talk about. We sit and chat and he cuts out anything that's stupid and includes the bits that are interesting we can go up. And it's not that different what we do for our partners. It's very much the same process, so nothing ever goes out the door without approval. So it's not like you're going to sit on a video call to us and then turn around and go, oh shit, I've got like 15 videos going out the door and I hate them and I look stupid and like my hair's a mess. None of that's going to happen. Primarily, we're looking to take insights and package them up as posts, articles, ourselves, to include them in your email marketing. And there's all sorts of different ways we use the ideas. We'll package them up in the same idea, several different ways and use it in different ways. But the other thing we can do, because it's on video, Ian's able to cut sections, create little sort of snippety videos of the sort that if you're watching this, you've probably seen from us. And if you like them, you can use them. If you don't, you don't have to. So yeah, it's
Yeah, there's a
what we do for people.
the day-to-day activities of a recruitment agency is perfect content. It's chocolate cake. A
100%.
lot of recruiters don't realize that they don't have to come up with content. They're sometimes sitting there, well, what can I post? What can I talk about? It's literally there for you, just day to day. So we do it, don't we? Just
Yeah,
what conversations have we had with founders? What's new? What's challenging? How do we fix it? What's the workaround? Is it suitable? We've
yeah.
got multiple verticals. Obviously, these recruiters have got day-to-day challenges. They're the subject matter experts. They're the key person of influence. They've cultivated the relationships. They're entrenched and embedded in the problems of their clients. There's the content. Like you say, when you use these sorts of media like video, you can just pull bits out of it, can't you? Clip bits, use the transcripts, spin out. You've probably got 2 weeks worth of content from a 40. Yeah, I think you probably get 2 weeks worth of decent content, written articles, snippets, short clips, just from a 40-minute conversation. I'd like to have one with. My mind's going back to one of the agencies I worked in that was constantly churning staff, just impulsively hiring, and it was failing all the time. Bit of a homer, banging your head thing. From the outside looking in, it was so obvious what was going wrong, and it was all around structure. I'd like to do, if she'd be willing to do it, she'd be really good about how she entered the business, what the challenges were, because she came from a big recruitment agency, so she was trained by one of the big boys. I think it was something like a Deco, and went into an agency that wasn't ready to receive her, basically. That 40-minute conversation with her, from her wearing her cap, from her POV, how did she feel coming from a big recruitment agency into an organization that she was just given some tools and a phone, and off you go. I need you to bill, and you're costing me X. I need you to bill Y as quickly as fucking possible. That was kind of it. And she wasn't even given the tools that she had in the old place. So yeah, there's so much content, and it's relatively easy to capture. And what would you say to people that don't want to do a video? Because it's not for everyone, is it? I mean, I to be honest, I look back at my videos it's cringe, isn't it? Absolute cringe.
I'm going to be honest with you. I hate doing this.
Yeah, it's bollocks.
Do it because I think we need to eat our own dog food. I don't think I can with a straight face tell founders, listen, if you don't do this, it's going to cost you, and then not do it. I don't enjoy doing it. I think one of the things that puts people off, and I hope anyone who's looking at the content we create sees that this is not it. There is a reputation for thought leadership on LinkedIn. And I hate this. It's like what I learned from skipping my mum's funeral, what I learned about like leadership. And you're like, oh, that's absolutely grotesque. Sorry, this is a total tangent. I saw something on LinkedIn the other day. I don't know the guy. I don't know the truth of it, but I completely believe it. This guy's a trustee of a charity. I think they help homeless people. Some of their volunteers were actually assaulted by a guy at their location because a bloke turned up to film himself giving things to the homeless people that they were helping, and some of the volunteers were like, no, you can't do that, you need to leave. And he like attacked people. Like, what sort of person shows up to film themselves doing something? Yeah, I hate it. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I would assume they're getting some value out of it, or they wouldn't do it. But it's vile, and I think a lot of people might look at that sort of absolute arsehole and go, God, no, I'm not going to do LinkedIn self-promotion.
Tell Simon Squibb it doesn't work.
That's the thing, though. He's not a dick, is he?
No, I've been to one of his talks. He's actually really good. Yeah. I went open-minded, and he's the geezer that goes with the little mic and says, "What's your dream?" Have you read his book's brilliant, by the way? But yeah, he does sort of broach into the filming himself doing wonderful things kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
I can't put him in the same category, to be fair.
I
But
wouldn't I
yeah,
wouldn't quite put him in the same place. Guy who wants to turn up with a £20 note and film himself handing it to a homeless guy.
yeah,
Intrinsically violent like that. I don't know. But look, you know, it doesn't have to be that. I'd like to give you an example actually of like the mountain of value. So, you know, anyone who's familiar with Daniel Priestley's work, I'm a big fan. Will hear me sometimes chucking out terms. And you go, oh, I've heard that before. Mountain of value is not my idea. It's Daniel Priestley's, and I think it's great. And his idea is essentially that when you're standing on a mountain, you can see everything around you, but you can't see the mountain that you're standing on. If that makes sense. And I think a lot of recruiters, certainly the good ones, are genuinely standing on huge amounts of knowledge, and they can't see it because they're standing up there on top of it and maybe looking at another mountain and going, oh well, that mountain's more impressive than the one I'm on. Yeah, but look what you're on top of. It's really fucking amazing. Do you know what I mean? And an example of that, which I really quite like, is I was talking quite a while back now to an engineering recruiter, and he focuses on the process industries. And I can't remember the question I asked him. It was a fairly innocuous one, you know. And that's how a lot of the questioning works. We sort of like have a little poke. Did we get anything interesting? Have a little poke. Do we get anything interesting? And you know, when we're doing these interviews, we're quite used to drawing ideas out of people, so it's quite a natural process. It doesn't feel like an interrogation. You know, my hope is anyone who's doing it, they forget almost that they're being videoed, and that it might, and most of it won't. Some of it might make its way out onto LinkedIn. But anyway, I can't remember the question, innocuous little question I asked him. And he starts reeling off. Oh, well, yeah, you know, and these are not the correct examples, but yeah, so like if you take someone from downstream oil and gas, like a refinery, they work really well in food and food and beverage. But actually, if you take someone from food and beverage and you try and put them in the downstream line, essentially, over about 5 minutes, he reeled off, this is why people from this background in process industry work in this process industry, and this is why these ones won't. And he was given reasons. And he was talking about this like it was startlingly obvious. I don't think it will be to a lot of people. And that's almost the beauty of the sort of outsider. You know, we absolutely don't pretend to know anything whatsoever about the niche that you recruit into.
no,
And
we just get educated and re-educated, don't we? Yeah.
that's it. And, you know, you are talking about something that might seem really obvious to you, but we're like, that's gold dust. You know, if I'm sitting, like, I'm the engineering manager of a chemical plant, I need to hire someone. I'm bringing in a new technician, and I've got 3 in front of me, and I've just had an absolute sort of masterclass on why the skill set in food and bev, you know, this guy who looks brilliant, has a brilliancy, why that skill set doesn't translate that well to the machinery that you're going to work on and the kit that you're going to work with. The recruiter in particular, he was talking, and he's like, you know, and I've placed people from this, and they've struggled, you know, they've left quickly because of these reasons. And that sort of stuff's gold dust, and people just don't realize they're sitting on it.
Yeah. Pattern recognition, problem solving.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just wired for the job, aren't they? They don't realize that
Not everyone
they
knows
think,
what.
oh, this isn't for broadcasting, but in one format or another, it's absolutely perfect for broadcasting, because you can tell your market that you understand their problems and that you've had experience in fixing them. And
And I think
it surprises a lot of recruiters to know that that's pretty much all the client's interested in. Can you fix my problem? And it's storytelling, isn't it? The art of storytelling. It's telling the story about how you fix problems that they can associate and recognize.
yeah, it's exactly that. It's exactly that. And the weird thing is actually when you speak to people who do get it and do want to do it, quite often, and I think this is a bias because I see it a lot. Quite often, they're trying to educate people in an industry about the industry. And you know, if I'm sitting talking to, I don't know, someone who recruits biomedical scientists, it's like, if they don't know more about this than you, that's really fucking worrying because they're the ones making the drugs. You don't need to teach them about developments in biomedical science. That's not what you should be talking about. What you should be talking about is your core expertise, because what you see, you know, someone at, I'm just going to pick GSK, someone who is a hiring manager in GSK sees a certain segment of the talent market at a certain time, and it's the time that they're hiring. And largely, they don't know very much about what else is happening. They don't know about the competitive offers from I've picked a terrible niche because I don't really know any
I
pharmaceutical
was going to
firms.
say GlaxoSmithKline. That's a nice small one that you can narrow down into.
My brother used to work there. Okay, well, let's just take a better example. Someone running a sort of 250 person construction firm, building building office buildings. They have a good insight into how to build office buildings and what's going on in the market. They probably have a good idea of what's happening in the property market, where the rents are going up and down. There's all sorts of different things that they need to know about, and they probably know more than us about those things. That might be terribly disparaging to some recruiters who are deep market experts. But mostly that will be the case. What they don't know, though, is what is everyone else offering to welders? Who is currently in the area that they're working in? Who is grabbing all the welders? Who's paying the best rate? What is making people move at the minute? What is the candidate situation like? Those sorts of things are super useful. And if you're going to sort of be sharing thought leadership and expertise, it's probably
Yeah.
more about discipline, which is recruiting.
Employer brand value. Or what's it? Brand proposition, employer brand proposition.
Mm,
It did a lot of that in the accountancy and finance space, helping
mm,
accountancy practice develop employer value proposition, EVP. So just knowing what the competitors are offering, looking at some of the market mapping. A lot of organizations don't know where to start with that, and a lot of these recruiters know all this information. They know what the market map looks like, and that's the sort of thing that they should be talking about, where they can add value or where they've added value in the past. Just pretty easy content, really. There's different parts of the challenge, isn't there? It's like, what software do I use to create something like this, for example? Some
mm,
recruiters wouldn't know that this is relatively easy to do. Having a schedule and an actual plan, something that
yes.
you can just stick to, but you fall back into that trap of, a bit like we was talking about the other day with the outreach and the personalization, or personalization against segmentation. Similar sort of problem, like dip in, have a go, expect immediate results, and then you've got the problem of what happens if accidentally this works and I get loads of leads? Do I just stop it?
Mm,
I was looking at our page, and project is relatively new. I was
mm,
having a quick look at our impressions, and it's just, there's none of this spiking, or it's just started at flat zero, and it's steadily growing. I don't know if you've looked, but
yeah.
we're only a few weeks into this, but I've noticed people starting to engage, like, no comments. I've had one comment on something, but it's just, you're starting to get impressions, which means that your message is getting in front of the right people. Not just your message, you people form an opinion and feel like they almost know you before they engage, and that over time, compounding over time, really powerful.
I think you touch on two really important things actually about content marketing and personal branding there. The first one, so often, look, we've talked about reasons that people might simply not do it at all, so they've seen stuff that they don't like, or they just find it a bit awkward. Fair enough. We've talked about the sort of blank sheet of paper where they don't really know where to start, even though they want to. The bigger problem, I think, the bigger group of people are people who have had a go and have made the conclusion, oh, this isn't for me because it hasn't worked. Like you've said there, a lot of the time, if they're toe in the water, they've done it for like a week and a half, and they've probably put quite a lot of time and effort into it.
No doubt.
100%. We sometimes see people who've missed the mark a little bit. They've maybe gone a little bit too self-promotional. They're talking about the wrong things, because they're brilliant recruiters. They're brilliant salespeople. They're brilliant fulfillment people. They're wearing 15 different hats running a business, and they've missed the mark. More often though, I actually see people who've done a really quite good job. They've done something pretty decent, they put a lot of time and effort into it. They did it for a week and a half and they got busy, so they stopped. Or even more likely, they got disheartened because they didn't get a result from it. And I think there's two things, if I could get a kind of cross, that I think would be really useful to understand here as a recruiter who's investing their time and effort in content marketing. The first thing is, it is not a quick process.
No.
You may get some quick wins and that's brilliant, but view them as a bonus rather than the goal. It is a long journey. I talk about this guy all the time, Daniel Priestley, really, really great guy. Read all of his books
You
as
love
well.
Daniel Priestley, don't you?
Oh, such a fanboy. I'm such a fanboy.
Yeah.
If you're watching it, Daniel, which you won't be,
You
it'd be
never
great.
know.
But look, he talks about the idea of 7 hours across 11 different touches. So before someone is ready to just buy something from you, they need to have consumed your ideas for around about 7 hours across 11 different intervals. And a lot of recruiters, a lot of that 7 hours is them picking up the phone, being told to piss off, not getting through the switchboard, and they're really, they're doing those 7 hours themselves in person, which is limited in how scalable it is. And actually, what you can do is you can have your content, and it's not all just video. You can have your content out there for consumption over a period of time, and that will, over time, bring the right people to you and get them ready to buy. But that's not something you do it for like a week and you create 3 videos and 2 posts, and then you go, well, where's my money? It doesn't work like that. It's a long journey to create that kind of volume of content, that kind of size of content bank. And at the risk of sounding a little bit self-promotional, that's one of the things that we can add quite a lot of value with as RDP, because you don't have to do it. We'll draw those ideas out of you. We'll package them up and we'll do the hard bit for you. You just need to sit there with some ideas with us for about 40 minutes.
That fella you spoke to yesterday, what sort of digital footprint did he have? Because I noticed in the notes from the call, he didn't have much of a problem with getting work or receiving briefs, but he was having issues with the contingent side of it and putting a lot of work in before he was getting paid. What? Because we've got a bit of work to do there, haven't we? We've got to try and identify how we spin that around from managing 5 to 15 vacancies.
Problem is he's got 2 clients that 90% of his work comes from. So he's getting contingent briefs chucked at him by 2 very big businesses. And look, they're feeding him. He's established an agency off the back of that. And
Yeah.
I mean, I should be so lucky. Most of us when we started a business didn't come with 2 brilliant clients right at the start who kept us busy. But I think what he's saying is I think he's sometimes feeling like a bit of a busy fool, because he's running around sort of following up these contingent briefs, and then they just go, no, we've changed our mind, we're not doing that. So he's kind of, his challenge is that he's very dependent on 2 clients. And
does he do any outreach at all, or any attempt at content? I haven't spoke to anybody yet, with the exception of the agent too. But most 80% of the founders I'm speaking to are not very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's true, and that's true of him. Like most, he's done a bit and he's stopped. And that is the thing, with your content marketing, it isn't something that you can do for a week and get a result. The other big thing of the 2 things I wanted to kind of get across, how you actually measure the result of content marketing, because, you wouldn't measure a good, about football, I don't, but you wouldn't measure a good sort of centre back based on how many goals he scored. And I think you've got to kind of look at content in the same way. It's like, if your measurement of this has worked, is you can draw a straight line between, I published this piece of content and then someone came to me completely out of the blue and they gave me an order, then yeah, you're gonna look at your content and go, what a load of shit. This isn't this isn't working for me at all.
It's very intangible. That's what a lot of people wrestle with, because of the way recruiters are wired up. They want to see, I've put in X and received Y for the effort. It's this sort of outreach, not outreach. This sort of content it's a slow burn. If you put it into the football terms, it's like the player that ran into space, knowing full well he's not going to get the ball, but created the space for somebody else to go and score.
Yeah, that's it. I think you've got to look. And you can measure this stuff, but if you're...
Yeah, but it's not like in a recruiter way, is it? It's not like, I've sent 1,000 emails, I got 20 leads, I got 5 interviews, or I sent 20 CVs, 5 interviews, 1 converted. Right, I'll do 10,000 emails, I should get 10x. That's the bit that it's hard to measure in that, because this is just...
Actually, though, you've defined, and we've pointed to this to loads of people, you've defined exactly how you measure it. So if you're not doing structured outreach, that's not going to work. All you're going to do is go, did I sell more this month than last month? And that's quite intangible. But actually, when you are doing structured outreach, you can see the impact of the content. So, we consistently see, outreach, it works very differently in different niches, you know. So the conversion rate from connection request to connection, the conversion rate,
Ours has gone bonkers, hasn't it, since we started this?
but it does for all of our
Yeah,
partners.
true. Yeah, yeah.
Start upping the As soon as you start upping the content, you start to see those other metrics change. So
Mm.
the reason that I think a lot of people miss it is because they don't pair it up. You know, we don't just do content marketing. Just content marketing is too intangible, it's too long, and it's very hard to say, is this working or isn't it working? But actually, when you pair it up with the outreach, you can start to say, well, okay, so I know that if I have 10 conversations, I'm going to get one client or two clients. Well, you know your numbers. I know that if I send 100 messages, I get 10 conversations. So, you know, you can look at those numbers. And actually, as soon as you start putting, and it's not like a weekend, but as soon as you start putting the personal branding content, good thought leadership around it, you see those numbers changing. So you need to look elsewhere in the pipeline rather than just trying to draw a direct line between this one piece of content and this one client, because that one client probably didn't read this one piece of content. They read like 10 pieces of content, 11 pieces of content before they became a client. And actually, where you need to look is, I used to send messages to 100 people and 2 of them responded. Now when I send 10 messages, 10 of them respond. That's dramatically different.
Yeah. And just like all real life, I've got to go.